Okay, there's no way of avoiding an introduction that's any less silly, so let's just get to it. We're looking at Bollywood. Yes, today we're looking into a subsection of Western cinema culture that's seen as ridiculous, over-the-top, and downright comedic in its storytelling, but today I endeavor to find out if any of these notions are actually true. Hollywood aren't the only producers of high-budget films. I've heard about Bollywood movies, but I've never actually seen any outside of ridiculous clips of people turning into mecha snake monsters. So, are there classic Bollywood movies? Okay, truthfully, that's way more complicated of a question than I thought. To give a very brief synopsis of the Indian film industry, Bollywood makes double the number of films that Hollywood makes, and Bollywood is only one subsection of the Indian film industry. But this is still a film channel and not a history channel, so let's immediately abandon that train of thought and just discuss today's director, S.S. Rajamouli. Now, truthfully, from my understanding, Rajamouli isn't actually part of Bollywood. Bollywood is primarily Hindi cinema, while Rajamouli works in Telugu cinema. An important clarification to Indian audiences, I'm sure. But to Western audiences, these differences are pedantic. Despite Telugu cinema being a smaller subsection of Indian cinema, Rajamouli is actually the highest paid director in India. 3 of his films, Bahubali The Beginning, Bahubali 2 The Conclusion, and RRR, are among the top 5 highest-grossing films in India to date. In the spirit of keeping the films I talk about accessible, these are also the films I watched, as they're readily available with captions on Netflix. Yeah, Netflix is evil or whatever, but it's accessible to most people, so exceptions have to be made. Now, some important notes should be made up front. First of all, I recognize that these movies have in fact been released recently, but I harken back to a joke I made in the previous episode about people avoiding foreign films, and the general American stigma about watching specifically Indian movies, so I stand by this episode. The second point being that I do actually love these movies. That being said, as a Westerner, I 100% cannot tell if these films are satirical. I have no knowledge of the reasoning behind Indian films, or how they're made, or even why they always have multiple segments of the film that are essentially just music videos, but frankly it doesn't matter. Rajamouli only has one goal in mind, and it's to tell the most epic story he can possibly think of, regardless of what it takes to get there. Each film really feels like a Greek epic brought to life with a hero set on his quest, becoming more and more powerful as he becomes emotionally invested in his quest, eventually becoming almost godlike. Here is a clip from an interview also starring the Russo brothers, where Rajamouli describes his philosophy for storytelling.
Basically, I believe that a good story is a good story for all the people across the globe, whichever country they are in. But to take a story to cross the boundaries, for a story to cross boundaries, to cross cultures, there are many hurdles, but I think the principal hurdle is belief.
So you don't tailor your stories to speak to a global audience specifically?
No, see, basically, like I was saying, an emotion is the same. Human relation, a relationship between husband and wife, a father and son, 2 friends, whatever it is the same as in America, as in India, as in Japan. It is the same. It doesn't change.
Now, in similar fashion to last week's episode, these movies are very long. Hell, Bahubali is a 3-hour-long movie that doesn't have an ending till the second 3-hour-long movie. So, for this episode, I'm going to directly suggest that you watch his film RRR, because, yes, it's still 3 hours, but at least it's one film, and personally, it was my favorite. Yes, the CG is often cheesy and impossible not to notice, but it somehow only adds to the charm. Every moment is more ridiculous than the next, and I just can't take my eyes away. It's spectacular. Rajamouli pulls out all the stops simply for the purpose of telling the story, and I think that dedication is just beautiful, even when the CG isn't. Again, if you care to watch these films, they're readily available with English captions on Netflix. This video was made possible by S.S. Rajamouli, and special thanks to the visual effects artists that work on his films. I know they don't get enough credit over here in America, so thank you. I'm Tyler Douglas, thanks for watching.